Welcome back. In this tutorial, I'll create a transition using FxCore, our node editor, and build a native plugin for Final Cut Pro, Motion, Premiere Pro, After Effects, and DaVinci Resolve, all without writing a single line of code. I'll cover features available only with our Builder edition, but the techniques you'll learn today are just as valuable when using FxCore as a free, standalone compositor. I'll start by creating a new project in the FX Factory app to host my plugins. Give it a name, and choose a transition as my first plugin. I'll name it 4-Way Page Turn, since I'll soon be creating a split-screen variant of a basic page turn. FX Factory creates a placeholder for me. The parameters you see here are the same parameters available in a video app. When I save the project and launch Premiere Pro, I can already apply this transition and adjust those parameters in the inspector. Let's get to work on the composition that drives this plugin. Something should immediately stand out. Some of the inputs are outlined in blue. These inputs have been published, creating the link between the composition and FX Factory. Publishing an input is easy. You right-click and select Publish. We'll expand on this later. Right now, the composition applies a page curl transition to the entire frame. The Effect node is a common foundation of FX Factory plugins. It is one of the few nodes designed specifically for plugin development. Its image and target image inputs are mapped to the outgoing and incoming clips in video apps. Progress is tied to the completion of the transition, as a value going from 0 to 1. Since I'm not using this inside a video app, I've assigned a couple of placeholders that match the size of my output window, and FxCore animates the progress output to help me test my transition. To create my split-screen version of Page Turn, I have to apply the same effect to 4 separate regions. I'll load a custom graphic as my outgoing clip to help me track progress. I'll enable this option to give me access to the width and height of my clip. Each split screen is half as large as the whole video frame. A couple math expressions will do the trick. FxCore puts the origin in the lower left corner, same as a standard Cartesian plane. I'll create a rectangle at the origin with my newly computed size, and crop the outgoing clip to this region. It's now ready to be fed to the transition. I'll repeat the same steps for the incoming clip. My first quadrant is almost ready. Right now the angle is published and customizable by the user. So I'll right-click the input to unpublish it and make it point away from the center. Great. I'll need 3 more regions with origins here, here, and here to crop my inputs for 3 more instances of page curl. Each one should peel the outgoing clip away from the center of the frame. I'll pick opposite angles that work well in widescreen and create 3 more rectangles, one for each split screen. Now I'm ready to crop both clips and patch the result to the corresponding transition. All transitions should use the same radius, computed from the diagonal of the video frame. This technique keeps the output consistent at different resolutions, since the diagonal scales up and down with the frame. I'll add 3 more inputs to the billboard, so the final picture begins to take shape. It's clear that I need all 4 transitions to animate in sync. I could simply patch progress to all 4 time inputs. Instead, I'll use a math interpolation node to achieve something better. I'll choose quadratic in-out to ease in and out of the animation. The default values for start value, end value, and duration are great, but the node is currently running off the local animation time. I'll switch it to external, so I can use the transition's progress as its new clock. When I finally connect its output to all 4 transitions, the animations happen in sync. That's looking better, but I'm spotting a problem in the output. My billboard is set up to use source over, and the shadow from one panel is drawing below the other. I'll fix the issue by cropping each output before compositing. And move on to the next problem. The first transition is still publishing the inputs that control shadow size and amount. But I need to control the shadow for all transitions at once. This is a problem for the input splitter. You'll find it under Utility. I'll right-click on the input itself and take a shortcut. Notice how each input is now replicated in its own node with the same range of values. I can now patch the same value to 4 inputs so that one slider lets me control all 4 transitions. The effect is almost done, but I'll take the opportunity to show one more aspect of the integration between FxCore and FxFactory. So far, I have reused the same parameters that were already published by the composition, but I'd like the ability to choose a different animation curve while using this transition in a video app. So I'll publish its function input, save my changes, and return to FxFactory. I'm happy with my work, so I'll ask FxFactory to read it back in. Notice the parameter list has changed. The angle dial is no longer mapped. Earlier on, I unpublished that input and manually entered 4 angles. Since it's no longer needed, I'll remove it. There's my new parameter too. FxFactory has mapped the newly published input to a pop-up menu for me. I'll give it a more user-friendly name. And I'm done. When I save this project and launch Premiere, the plugin is ready for me. I can see my new output and the new parameter to control the animation curve. The same transition is also available in After Effects, Motion, and DaVinci Resolve. I won't be making any more changes to the plugin, but I have to jump through one more hoop to use it in Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro doesn't support plugins natively. All effects must be delivered through a motion template. FxFactory makes this job simple. I'll link my motion templates to the project I just completed and create a new template for my transition. FxFactory has created a motion template supporting common aspect ratios and wide gamut HDR. There's no need to open Motion to publish any parameters. I'd like to spot my transition easily in the browser, so I'll drag a thumbnail to the product's assets and assign it to my template. I'll save the project, and when I fire up Final Cut Pro, my new transition is ready to be used. These are just the basics of creating native plugins with FxCore. With hundreds of filters at your disposal, it's the only node editor built to video industry standards that lets you deploy the same plugin to 5 video apps at once, or use it as a free compositing app to build your own visual effects, and export the output to a movie. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and cannot wait to see what you build next.